Hello, Andrew Colsky with Therapy BTS, Therapy Behind the Scenes. Today we are talking with our guest, Shari Bookstaff, and she is going to tell us about an incredible life story as well as how she has turned that into something positive for all of us. So, Shari, welcome, and could you please introduce yourself to the
Thank you.
audience?
Thank you so much. Well, I'm Shari Bookstaff, and the main thing to know about me is that I am a marine biologist in California, and I teach biology at a community college. And I've been teaching there since 1990. I actually just got my 30-year award. Well, kind of an award, but I got my 30-year recognition. So I've been teaching there for 30 years, and we'll talk about medical stuff later, but I specialize in whales and dolphins, and so that's a lot of where my passion lies, is in the cetaceans and the
Right.
whales and dolphins that I see around here.
Wonderful. Well, that explains the necklace of like the whale tail and a
Right, the whale tail.
dolphin there on your logo.
Right, I incorporate it into everything. You can see.
Wonderful. They're amazing creatures, and I'm sure you know
Yeah,
a whole lot more about them than I do.
they're
But
they're
I'd love to
they're
watch.
fun. Yeah, I do like them.
Great. So why don't we start off by having you tell us a little bit about you and your life story?
My life story. Well, I grew up in Wisconsin, believe it or not. The only, like nice Jewish girl on my block who wanted to be a marine biologist when she grew up. So I've known that I wanted to be a marine biologist since I was like 7, which
Great.
is odd again being in Wisconsin. But we went to aquariums all the time. I learned how to scuba dive when I was 16. My parents would, when we were on vacation in Florida, they said, bye to their 16-year-old daughter, let me go out scuba diving. So I grew up wanting to do this. I went to undergraduate in Wisconsin, majored in zoology, and came out to California for grad school to study whales. And I've been doing that ever since. I do get seasick, so I wasn't able to like work on a boat, but I'm able to incorporate whales and dolphins into everything that I teach about and everything that I do now. And I will say that my love of whales and this passion helped to save my life, and I'll tell you that story in a little bit too.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it must be hard to get seasick, but also love to do things
Right, on
related.
the water, yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
well,
I have to
so
take lots of seasick medicine, and then I'm okay, but you can't like work on seasick medicine.
it
So
doesn't it make you tired?
yeah, you can't work. I can't drive afterwards. So it's a
Right.
little tough, but I can go and enjoy the whales as a
Wow.
passenger.
So you have always known that you've had this particular passion, which is wonderful because so
Yes.
many people just don't know what they want to be when they grow up.
Right. Most people don't know what they want to be, which is fine.
Yeah.
Most of my students don't know what they want to be. And I'm like, that's fine. Yeah, that's, need to know what you want to be. That's why you go to college.
Right. You got to explore different things until you find the one
Right.
that resonates with you.
Right.
So you were fortunate in that you knew you had this love and this passion. You were
Usually I
engaged
have a
with
love and
it.
passion.
Yep. You were able to get into that field. And so you're working, through college in this field. Once you finish college, what happens? What do you do next?
Well, I knew that I couldn't, go work on a boat. And honestly, I didn't really want to because I wanted to have a family. So I got a job teaching at a community college near here. And that's where I still am, is that same community college. So I just started teaching and loved it. I mean, I really do love teaching. It's not like I settled for teaching. And I love explaining tough concepts to students and seeing kind of almost literally seeing the light bulb go off over their head when they understand you. So I
Mhm.
really do love teaching. And I was able to incorporate, whales and dolphins into that because, if I'm talking about the circulatory system, whales have a circulatory system. I use them as an example. So
Right.
I'm able to incorporate that into everything, which is nice. And I still go out whale watching. And a few years ago, gotta say this, a few years ago here in my town of Pacifica, we started seeing whales off the coast because they were
Mhm.
coming really close to shore to feed. This started in 2015. So you could just, go to the beach and see whales
Wow.
literally jumping out of the water to feed. So it ended
Wow.
up being it's been a really cool few years since they started coming.
Wow, that's amazing. Nice.
Like, the whole town is into the whales. Yeah.
I bet. I bet. So you're well along your way. You've got a good career. You're teaching.
Got
You're
a good
using.
career.
Yep.
I
And
had
what
just I
happened?
had just gotten divorced, became a single mom. My
Mhm.
kids were 12 and 8 years old, and this was back in 2006. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I mean, everything was going well in my life. I started getting dizzy and nauseous and didn't know what was going on. And it took like 4 months of going to the doctor and complaining about being dizzy and nauseous before they finally said, okay, well, let's send you to an ENT, an ear, nose, and throat doctor, just to, see what, just to kind of get rid of you and see what's going on. And the ENT said, well, they noticed that there was a difference in my hearing in my right and left side. So they said, well, let's just rule out this tumor and we'll send you for an MRI. So I went to get an MRI. Before the MRI, the people said, when you're done, go home. We'll call you in a few days with the result. Immediately after the MRI, so this was, 45 minutes later, they
Mhm.
said, wait here, we're going to give you all the films and you're going to take them with you. Well, when any medical professional has that drastic of a change in attitude, something's going on. So the next morning, my ENT called me, said she wanted to see me right away, and they had found a tumor that was, about the size of a golf ball. So it was not an insignificant tumor, and
Mhm.
it was having pretty severe symptoms in me already. So I had to have surgery. They had said that this kind of tumor and acoustic neuroma, well, they actually said if you have a brain tumor, this is the kind to have. My response to that is, but why do I have to have a brain tumor?
Right.
So I mean, they said that it was, they were really good at taking these out. They had great success. I shouldn't have any lasting effects. I should be able to go back to work, and I shouldn't even need physical therapy. I should be in the hospital 5 to 10 days. Well, I was planning to go back to work that
Mhm.
next semester, and
Sure.
something happened during surgery, right after surgery, and I had some kind of a stroke. And I ended up being in the hospital for 9 months
Oh my
instead of five
gosh.
to 10 days. So my kid, my family kind of scrambled to take care of them, and they ended up going to live with their dad for a few months, which was fine. But the day that I came home, they came back to the house with me. And I remember when I first came home, I was not able to walk unassisted, so I had a walker, two walkers, because I have a two-story house. One
Mhm.
walker was downstairs, one was upstairs, and I had to have the railings to use to go up the stairs, and then I would get my other walker. And now, I mean, it's almost 18 years later. I'm obviously walking. Well, not obviously, you don't know about that, but I'm walking independently. Yeah, I walk a little awkward. Sometimes I fall, but I definitely walk pretty far. I do a fitness class every morning. I
Nice.
ride a stationary bike. I do a treadmill. So I'm trying to be active, and that's probably why I fall, because I don't just lie in bed all day.
Right, right.
So
Well, that's great though that you're being as active as you are. It's fantastic.
yes, I try to be active.
So this really obviously must have been a big interruption in your
Oh
life.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
and you said at the time you were a single mom too, right?
yeah. And the interruption keeps going because I mean, there's things that I hate saying that I can't do certain things, but there are some things that I just can't do. But one time I remember I was kind of feeling sorry for myself that I couldn't do X, Y, or Z. I can't remember what. And then I reminded myself that a few days before I had gone whale watching and seen blue whales,
Hmm.
the largest animal to ever live on the planet. It's like, it's hard to feel sorry for yourself when you just saw a blue whale, because not everybody gets to do that.
Right.
So yes, there are things I can't do, but there's things that everybody can't do. Sorry,
Right.
my dog is doing things back here. There are things everybody can't do. Nobody, how many of you can do a triple toe loop on the ice? How many of you
Nope.
can kick a field goal? No, not too many. So
Right,
no,
right,
and that's part of my internal narrative when I'm trying to get out of that funky mood. It's like there's things that yes, there are things you can't do, but let's focus on what you can do. There's a
right.
lot that you can do.
So obviously I'm assuming that once you get home from the hospital and all of
Right.
the medical care, that you started to learn a lot about yourself that maybe you had not focused on before.
Started to learn a lot about myself. And my goal was to get back to work and
Mm-hmm.
get back to teaching. And thankfully I had the kind of job where they didn't just give it to someone else
Mm-hmm.
and write me off. So I was able to get back to work. I spent my first semester back at work. Actually, I wrote a professional development grant just to retrain myself to get back onto campus and navigate the campus and learn new teaching methodologies. So, really, I mean, what did I learn about myself? Just having my inner determination. I mean, I was always kind of stubborn and determined. You kind of have to be a, marine biologist from Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
But, using that and overcoming some pretty bad depression, which was understandable, but still it's not going to be productive. And having my kids come back and my dogs were here and stuff. So just being able to get back to my life, that's what was really important to me.
Right, right. So so you're learning these things about yourself, you're making adjustments to your situation, you're getting back into the flow of things, and what do you end up doing about that ultimately?
Well, and one thing I did is I wrote a book because I did what I mean at the very beginning I was writing like emails to people in the middle of the night that were kind of sad, and you just you ask yourself all these questions like, why did this happen to me? What did I do wrong? And there's no way to tell. You can't ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of changed the narrative and asked myself different questions, like, where's Nemo? Finding Nemo was a big movie back then.
Right,
So like,
right,
and it kind of funny questions. When I would ask myself that, I'd kind of make myself laugh. So that changing the narrative got me into writing this book. And I wrote a book about this whole thing, turning those sad emails into a book. But when you're writing a book that you actually want like other people to read, it can't just be sad. You have to flip it.
right,
So, and I was able to flip it and make myself laugh. And using humor was a huge way to, I mean, that's one thing that made other people be comfortable around me.
right.
Because I would fall, but then I would laugh. And I don't know why I laughed. My therapist even commented that I was the only person who laughed after they fell. Because it was funny. I mean, it was like out of a movie where you're falling in slow motion, or it's like in the TV show Bewitched, where Darren's affected by the wind and the rain, but no one else is. That's how it was. If I was walking in the wind, it was
Right,
like blowing me over, but nobody else. And I found that funny. So you take these funny things and you make them into positive thoughts, and I made them into a book. And the title of my book, When Life Throws You Lemons, Make Cranberry Juice, actually comes from people telling you things. People saying, be positive. What God won't give you anything you can't handle. What doesn't kill you will make you stronger. And when life throws you lemons, make lemonade.
mm-hmm.
And those things might be nice and you might need to hear them. But when people said them to me, I wanted to punch them in the face. So when I went to write my book, I kind of did a sarcastic twist on that saying. And when they actually those lemons make cranberry juice, which also has a lot of meaning because cranberry juice is sweet, whereas lemons, everybody knows what lemons are.
Right,
When you get
right.
life's lemons, but life's cranberries, those are the little sweet nuggets in life. Those are so easy to overlook and just forget about when you're in the middle of your lemons. So what this mantra does for me is really make me stop, put the lemons up on a shelf, even if it's for 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and accept those cranberries that really are all around you. Accept those
Wow.
sweet things. And they can be as little as finding a quarter in the, well, okay, a $5 bill on the ground, or as big as, a rainbow. They can be anything.
Right,
But
right.
but being able to accept those and look for those and let them into your heart, even if your lemons are overwhelming you, it changes your mind, your internal scenery. It
Mm-hmm.
changes your mindset, and then you can deal with the lemon. So I'm
Right.
not saying sweep your lemons under the carpet or turn them into something else, but just put them aside for a minute. And you have cranberries. Everybody has cranberries. You have to look for them. You have to want to see them, and you have to know that you deserve to see them and to have them in your heart. And
True.
so all of those things can be stopping you from seeing them, but we all deserve our cranberries. So you got to get your
Right.
cranberries when you can.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's wonderful that number one, you have that too, because I think that's obviously key to your recovery and getting
Oh yes,
where you are today.
yes.
But I am curious if somebody wanted to get a copy of the book, where does it where would they find it?
Amazon.
Amazon.
It's on Amazon, and it's both in. You can get it as a soft cover book, paperback book, or you can get it on Kindle. And
Oh,
actually, if you're a part of Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free.
oh,
But
that's
if you look
wonderful.
up this title, "When Life Gives You Lemons Make Cranberry Juice," on Amazon, you'll be able to find it pretty quickly. It'll pop right
Fantastic.
up.
Fantastic.
You
So
might get a lot of recipes and stuff too, but if you look for books, you'll get them.
that's true. Make cranberry
Yeah.
juice. Very, very true.
There's a lot of things. Yeah.
Right. So you write this book, you have discovered this sort of mental health approach for yourself. It's working well for you for your recovery. And then you do something more with it. You build a company, right?
Right. Well, one thing that I realized as I was going through all of this, and I've actually, everybody knows this, but that medical professionals, some of them are really nice and sweet and compassionate and empathetic, and some are not. So, why the big, huge discrepancy? Even when I was a patient on the brain surgery floor of the hospital, some of the nurses were kind and some were not. So that got me to thinking that we got to change this narrative. And when I came out the other side of this, I was able to talk. I'm able to reach an audience. I'm able to present myself. And many people either are not able to speak in public, they're very afraid of speaking in public, or they're physically not able to. So
Mhm.
I had this mission. I was going to go out to medical professionals and students and share my story and come up with ways that they can connect to their patients. Because connecting to your patients and showing your patients empathy is the quickest way to get their cooperation and the quickest way to get them to listen to you and to get them to do what you want and to let them let your patients do invasive things. Some of my nurses and doctors had to do pretty, invasive stuff to me. And I've had a lifelong fear of doctors. So for me to let a nurse, stick a tube up my nose, that took a lot of empathy from me and connection. And there was one nurse at each hospital that I went to who would touch me, take my blood, or do something horrible, like stick a tube up my nose. But and so I'm trying to get medical professionals to really see that how important that is and give them practical ways to do that which don't really take any time. So Lifetime of Impact is a nonprofit that I started where I go out and talk to students in their classrooms, healthcare students in their classrooms, and that transition into impact of empathy, where I really take this need for empathy and widen the scope of it to not only healthcare professionals, but anybody leading anybody else can lead with empathy and
Mhm.
get more cooperation from their people.
Right.
So whether it's a physical therapist leading their patient, or a corporate leader leading their team, or a professional sports coach leading their players, leading with empathy is always going to be better and more productive. And
Mhm.
that's what the message that I'm trying to get across and the how that I'm trying to get across.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's one of the things that I share with not only all of my patients, but even when I'm doing corporate training or things, is I always tell them, I say, words matter,
Right,
actions matter more, feelings matter most. And
right,
that is true across the board. I don't care if you're talking about an employee. I don't care if you're talking about a client. I don't care if you're talking about a spouse. That is
or
true.
a player. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
So I hear you. I agree. Empathy, compassion, all of these things
right.
are
And
key.
it doesn't need to be this soft and gooey empathy.
Right.
It can be it can be sarcastic jokes. If you make someone else laugh, that's empathy. So it's part of your personality, whatever your personality lets you do. I like to say that empathy is inside all of us and we just need to let it out.
Hmm.
So, and it can take any form. It doesn't need to be a hug. It doesn't, if that's not your thing.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't need to be, anything overly emotional. It could be, again, a sarcastic joke. I've had nurses telling me bad jokes, and anything that takes you out of yourself as a patient and makes you feel like a person is treating you with empathy.
You just said it. Instead of
Yeah,
being a patient, you're an
you're a
actual
person.
person. Big difference in the attitude, right? Of how you
Right.
approach a patient versus a person.
Oh, yes. And that goes for any time. And I just traveled. So if your airlines saw people who needed help in a wheelchair, as a person, I get to help rather than a problem that needs to be solved.
Hmm.
That change in attitude would help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So you and I were talking before, and you told me that you have these four mantras that you teach.
Right, right.
Tell us
And
about those.
I feel so strongly about these mantras that I gave them an acronym, charged, so you can get charged. The CHA in charge stands for focus on what you can change. So you don't need to focus on, what you cannot do. Focus on what you can do. Focus on whatever you have control over something. Let's say you're going to be late for something. When you can't go back in time and leave earlier, you probably can't get rid of the traffic that's in front of you. But what you can do, you can call ahead, tell them you're going to be late. You can plan for how you're going to sneak in, late. There's things that you can control or can change. The R stands for resources. So modify your goals, resources. Do the best you can with the resources that you have. It kind of goes to this what you can control. Everybody has resources and everybody has limited resources. Your limited resources might be financial, might be social, might be physical, but you got some resources. One way that I really maximize my resources was I've always had a love of dogs. I've always had dogs. So
Hmm.
and I had dogs at this time too. I had two dogs that were kind of alone in the house while I was in the hospital. But when I came out, I decided to maximize that love of dogs and use that passion as a resource. And I got a useful dog, a service dog.
Hmm.
So my service dog, was really helpful to me. And I would suggest if you're in a situation where you need a service dog, I highly recommend getting one, but only if you also really like dogs. Because
Right.
no matter what, they're still a dog. They still shed. They still, you still have to pick up their poop. There's still gross things they do. So you
Hmm.
gotta like dogs. But I really use my resources and maximize those resources. And it goes from R to G. G is for goals, modify our goals, but stay true to yourself. Every inspirational speaker I've seen says never give up on your goals. It'll come true eventually. You just got to keep working. And I agree, keep working towards those goals, but that it's okay to modify them
Hmm.
as long as you stay true to yourself. When I came back to teaching, I couldn't teach in the same way. I taught mostly online because I couldn't stand up and talk for 3 hours a week. It was just too much. So I modified my goals, but I still teach about animals. I still teach about whales. So I stay true to myself. And then D, in charged, is don't be afraid to try something new and difficult. We're all afraid of those difficult things. But if you don't try those difficult things, you'll never challenge yourself and you'll never kind of reap the rewards. The first thing that I did was truly difficult was going whale watching, which obviously I wanted to do. But when you can barely walk and you're walking very wobbly, getting on a dock that's wobbly, and then stepping over the dock onto the boat. That's pretty far. If it's a foot, it's pretty far. And then getting on a boat that's wobbly. I had to modify my goals. I couldn't run around with my camera like I usually do, but I
Right.
could sit and have my camera. So I modified my goals. I still took pictures because that's what I like to do. And I did that really difficult thing, and I got a nice picture of dolphins doing that one of my first trips out, which was really difficult. So those 4 mantras and the one life throws you lemons make cranberry juice really, there are still days that I have to tell myself those, because of course you get in funky moods and
Right.
bad, I don't want to use the word depressed because that's a clinical diagnosis, but you get in really sad moods and you have to bring yourself out of it. And those mantras are one way that I can bring myself out of it.
Yeah, no, those are wonderful, and they're so true to what we need to know about ourselves and what we need to do to move ourselves forward. And one of the things there, when you were talking about sort of modifying your goals, this is something that I talk with clients about a lot, which is, yes, you have your long-term goal that you want to achieve. But in order to do that, you've got to take a lot of smaller steps along the way to get there. And what I think a lot of people get stuck on is they have this predetermined idea of what all those smaller steps are going to be. And if they follow those smaller steps without paying attention to the outcome of the previous step, they might, the universe might be telling them you need to shift a little bit to the left or to the right, but they're so focused on doing the steps that they don't listen to it. And then they don't get to their goal because they, failed to listen. But as long as you're willing to
modify your goal is going to help that.
Absolutely.
I also say if you're making big goals, shoot for more than you're ever going to get. Shoot for the stars. Because my thinking is you only get a fraction of what you want in this life if you work really hard for it. Why not get a fraction of a bigger piece of pie?
Right.
So shoot for everything, and then you'll get a fraction of that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I love your attitude, and I love the way that you have been able to turn your lemons into cranberry juice. So let me ask you this. You said you speak to healthcare students about these concepts and these mantras and all. If someone is listening to this podcast and maybe they are teaching a class of students, or they would like to talk with you more about maybe getting you to come and talk with them, or maybe do a Zoom call.
I would love to.
How would they find you?
They can either email me at Shari@impactofempathy.net, which I think will be in the description of this episode, or you can go to 2 websites, lifetimeofimpact.com, to get me to come talk to your students, and I can do it through Zoom, so it can be anywhere in the world, really. Impactofempathy.net if you'd like me to do a workshop with your leaders, either student leaders or corporate leaders, any kind of leaders I can do a workshop with. So lifetimeofimpact.com and impactofempathy.net are the 2 websites.
And I'll make sure to put those in the description of the video.
Okay.
So just to make sure that we're clear, the type of students that you work with can be really anyone in the healthcare field, mental health, physical health, any of that.
Yes, I do a lot of, actually this year I'm doing some microbiology classes because most micro students are going into some kind of healthcare. And, eventually I do respiratory therapy students. I've done nursing students, any kind of healthcare, allied or medical students. So I've talked to them too. Anybody who's going to work with, and if you're at a hospital, anybody with any kind of contact with a patient, trust me, needs this training. Whether they're the parking attendant or the receptionist, or they do medical things to patients. They need this training. They need to know how to interact with anybody who's in the hospital. Running with time. So one of my goals for Impact of Empathy is to get into hospitals as part of their onboarding program. So any new employees have to take my empathy training before they go to work. Because really, as a patient, I've had a bad experience with the parking that I've attended, and it impacts your whole visit. And
Right.
trust me, doctors out there, you want your patients to be in the best mood possible when you get them.
Right. Right. No, I don't know of a single hospital or health center that I have ever had experience with that had an easy parking experience that you just drive
Right.
to the park. It's always been fighting for a spot somewhere, looking around, and that's the last thing you want to do when you're not feeling well or you're
Right.
with someone who's not feeling well.
And some of that might be difficult because it's, and I don't really address the institutional physical parking issues, but if somebody's really nice and empathetic to you after you have that experience, that's going to help.
Right.
That's going to help.
Absolutely.
I walked in a hospital and the first person you see is somebody who says, "Oh, do you know where you're going? Can I help you?" That's helpful.
Yes.
And that's nice, even if you do know where you're going and somebody was nice to you. Like, oh, I'm glad somebody was nice to me. And that does help change your internal scenery.
Absolutely.
You can be a better patient eventually.
You know what? Same thing with waiters and waitresses, whether
Yes.
you're the client or the waiter. Same thing with store clerks, whether you're the
And
client or the clerk.
airport personnel, yes.
Airport, all across the board. So, it's not
Everybody,
just
yeah.
limited to healthcare.
Sports venues. I mean, I've been in so many places where I've had both ends of the spectrum of, people see a wheelchair coming, oh God, a wheelchair's coming. Or people see a wheelchair coming, oh, let me open the door for you. And you go down there. I've had both experiences. So, we need some training as to why it's so important to be the empathetic one.
Right, right. Well, this has been an incredible conversation. It's what can I say? It really helps people who are going through their own struggles to realize that, someone like yourself who's gone through some pretty challenging things has learned how to turn it into, we'll say, cranberry juice and really move forward and turn it into a big positive for you. So that's something that you should be proud of.
Right.
And
that's what I'm trying to do, is make a positive impact.
yeah, absolutely. So, if you're interested in Shari's book, When Life Throws You Lemons, Make Cranberry Juice, Amazon.com has the book. And I will put the links to her website in the description of the video if you wanted to get in contact with her. Like she said, she'd be happy to speak with you. Any parting words, Shari?
No, I just, remember that empathy is inside you, and please let it out. And empathy can be as simple as a smile or a nod or a wave or a hand on the shoulder. There's so many ways to express empathy. Eye contact can be empathetic. Listening, really listening to somebody can be empathetic.
Right.
So remember that it's there, it's inside of you. I would just say let it out.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me and to join my audience and to share your story and to share your words of wisdom.
Thank you so much for
Hopefully,
having me.
yeah. So maybe we'll get a chance to catch up with you again soon, and maybe you can even share some pictures of whales and dolphins. Everybody.
I could definitely do that. I'd love to talk about whales.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful day. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.